you everyone for coming to the WICA and EPAWI webinar. My name is Gracie Boland and I am the project manager for this project, and I am here today with the other cluster partners who will introduce themselves and who you will see throughout the webinar during different presentations. So we decided to do today's webinar in a meeting session because, as you'll see, the idea is to really hear from you, hear from the other clusters, from what you need in the wine industry and also through cross-sectoral innovation. So don't hesitate to either write in the chat or to raise your hand virtually, and you'll be able to speak so we can see you for your questions or comments. And so you'll see on the first slide that the Wine Innovation Cluster Alliance is becoming the Wine Innovation Collaboration Alliance. So today we're here with other clusters and other business support organizations, which at the beginning of the project we thought would kind of be the main partners. And of course, that is staying, that is what will happen, except we want to also really enlarge the alliance to research centers, to SMEs, to third countries that might not have clusters. They have business support organizations, but maybe not the same cluster. So instead of closing the alliance, we decided just to change the name to include everyone in this innovation alliance. And so the WICA Alliance is thanks to an EU-funded COSME Clusters Go International project, which is called the European Partnership for Auxiliary Wine Industry Innovation. And we'll be able to talk a little bit about that today. And so in the next 40 minutes, so we'll have a bit of time for questions at the end. We're going to explain the project EPAWI and the WICA Alliance to you, the benefits to cross-sectoral actors, so maybe clusters or business support organizations that are dedicated to digital or to green energy, to see how we can work together with the wine industry. A little bit about the European and global wine market, the challenges that we were able to find out for the European wine market, the joint internationalization strategy of the WICA Alliance, and then how we can build the principles together, thanks to you, the clusters and BSOs that are here with us today. And so now my colleagues from Advid in Portugal will explain a bit more about the project and our partners.
Thank you, Gracie. Good morning, everyone. Just to briefly explain the concept of a cluster, we bring together all the players involved in a specific industry, in this case, the wine industry. So grape and wine producers, suppliers, and research and public institutions, in order to coordinate projects and to tackle the main challenges of this sector. So on behalf of the 4 partners involved in this initiative, Innova in France, Innovi in Spain, Advid in Portugal, and Agri-Food in Italy, I will explain briefly WICA. Can you please change the slide? Thank you. So the WICA represents the first stepping stone of a unique global alliance for the innovation of the wine sector. Through the project EPAWI, our main goals are to promote a resilient value chain of the grape and wine sector through the global cluster and BSO cooperation, to face the challenge presented by the grape and wine producers through a cross-sectoral innovation and auxiliary companies' involvement, in order to promote and facilitate the international development of the auxiliary companies. So at this time, can you please change? Can you move on? Thank you. At this time, we are in the first steps of this initiative, which include 2 main parts. First, to understand the main challenges of the grape growers and wine producers, And how we do that? Through a global survey to wine producers, grape growers, and supplier companies in order to identify the most important and adequate solutions from supplier companies, not only from wine industry, but also from other industries that present solutions that can be adapted for the main challenges of the wine sector. This will lead us to develop and implement international missions and events, to coordinate international projects in order to answer the main challenges and to promote establishments of WICA and the collaboration with BSOs. The final and main goal is to foster innovation on a global level through this alliance as an established collaboration between clusters and BSOs. I will pass the floor to Gracie again. Thank you.
Thank you, Katerina, for outlining the EPAWI project and the timeline. And now I'm going to focus on the advantages that we propose to clusters and SMEs. So as Katerina explained, the final goal of the project is to have established an alliance. And so how can this alliance, how can this project be interesting for other clusters and business support organizations? We believe that it's really a win-win for members, connecting an IoT cluster in Romania or a green energy cluster in Germany, adapting solutions to the wine industry and vice versa. Maybe there are wine solutions that also can be adapted to other sectors. And the idea is to connect all of the business support organizations and clusters to work together. So you're really expanding the scope of your work. And then there's also, of course, access to collaborative projects and to new collaborations, especially in the European vineyard and winery ecosystem, and also in third countries such as the US or Chile and Argentina. And so, especially for your members, for the supplier companies, what can WICA offer? What can the EPAWI project offer? Well, the direct access to the main needs of wine growers that we will look into in detail later through the survey that Katerina mentioned. So really seeing how the needs of the wine growers, how they are linked to the solutions that your SME members might propose. Also access to market information, so reports on a European level and also third country level on market information. And then what is interesting also to clusters that might not be directly related to wine or to solutions that might not yet be adapted to the wine industry, it's the introduction of these innovations from other sectors to the wine industry. So that's something that WICA offers and plans to offer to help adapt and to connect other solutions to the wine sector. And then, of course, international development support through collective missions. Together we are stronger, having a European technology attitude towards third countries with all of the innovations gathered from the EU clusters and business support organizations. There are also advantages, of course, for the wine producers. They are able to share their challenges directly through the producer survey that we created, and also to have access to dedicated solutions that we have identified through other clusters, through the crowd writing exercise that we will also introduce later, and really to have a platform, to have a connection with the solutions. And then, of course, research centers to understand and to connect international research. A solution that needs to be adapted to a third country might need to be tested. And so connecting the research centers will also be an advantage for all parties involved. And so now we've explained a bit about WICA. We've been talking a lot about the wine industry. And so the next few slides will be by Gilles Brianceau of Innovan, and he will explain a bit introduce the European and global wine market so you can maybe position yourself in this industry. So Gilles, to you.
Thank you, Gracie. The challenge today is to present units the global wine and vine market in the world and at European level also. So it's quite a big challenge, but we wanted to give you some insight about this market, because perhaps a lot of you are cluster which are not on BSO, which are not used to this market, and if we want to help cross-sectoral cooperation, we want to give you some insight about this market. So first, a few figures about the vine sector and the wine sector at a world and European level. The vine represents a little bit more than 7 million hectares at a worldwide level, but you have to know that in this statistic, when you read about million of hectares at a worldwide level, it is melted with the vines that are dedicated to wine productions, the vines that are dedicated to table and dry grapes production. So we have not the statistic simply for the wine production, but you can look at the wine production at a worldwide level, which is a little bit less than 300 million hectoliters. And what you have to know is that now, perhaps because of the climate change, wine is produced all over the world, from northern Sweden to New Zealand and South Africa at the south of in the south hemisphere. The graph below show you the evolution of the vine planted in the world from the mid-70s. And what you can see is that after a long period of decreasing, now on the past 5 years, everywhere in the world, the production and the vine planted are more stable. At a European level, what you have to know also is that together, Spain, France, Italy, and Portugal represent a little bit more, a little bit less, it depends of the year, 0.5% of the world wine, 0.5%, sorry, 50%, half the world wine production. So you can see Italy, France, Spain, and after you have also third countries like United States, Australia, or Chile and Argentina. So as we will explain later on, this is also why we have chosen for the moment during the project these third countries are our main target, because they are the biggest producer after Europe in the world. So Gracie, next slide, please. So rather than to give you a lot of figures about the wine and vine market in the world, I want to give you some main characteristic of this market. First, we can distinguish two great categories of wine producer in the world. What we can call terroir wines, terroir producer, which are mainly small to mid-level farms and generally producing premium wines, and what we can call industrial wines, which correspond to larger estates. So we can say that most of the terroir wines are produced in the old world wine, mainly Italy, Spain, Portugal, and France. But more and more, you can find also this kind of wineries in the new world wine. As well as you can find also industrial wine in Europe. Second, everywhere in the world, the wine market, the wine production is based on three categories. You have first the grape growers that grow vines and make grapes that they sell to wine producers. The wine producers buy grapes and make wine. We can call them bodegas in Spanish world, wineries in United States, cooperative also. And after you have wine traders. Generally, wine traders are also producers, so they buy grapes, make wine, and sell the wine. And the terroir wines are usually do all the three, from the grapes to the consumer. And what you have to know also is that viticulture is only a small part of the overall agriculture. For instance, in France, viticulture is only 3% of the total agriculture surface. but represent 50% of the global turnover of the agriculture. So in general, viticulture is a small part of agriculture, but with a stronger profit. So that's why it's also an interesting market. Next slide, please. Insight about this. I will try to be fast because I already lost my minutes. So vineyard management and wine production is not a standard process. So the need of wine producer are not the same depending on if you are organic or conventional, small and large, depending the grape variety, if you are making red, rosé, wine, and so on. So each time the solution, the innovation which is developed has to be adapted to the needs of the specific kind of winemaker and vine producer. Also, as viticulture is a small part of agriculture, the big companies, the major companies of agriculture are not generally interested in the wine market first. If you think about John Deere or Bayer, they are first developing solution for other kind of crops, for cereals, for instance, and then after, when the innovation is mature, it is transferred to the wine sector. Then, and it's very important, the vine and wine sector is highly fragmented, composed of thousands of actors. In France, we have more than 20,000 vine growers, and it's the same in Italy, in Spain, and so on. So it's a not very, but it's a difficult market to reach for new actors if you don't have a local distributor or local support to develop in this market. And last, vines are perennial plants, as you know, and so producing wine is a long process from the plantation to the consumer. So the adoption of new methods, of new solution by wine producers is usually long. So if you develop innovative solution, you have to be patient in order to see them deployed and adopted by producers. But still, there are many challenges to be tackled, and this is the following of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gilles. It was really important to put into context the wine industry. And I'm going to invite the participants later on during the question session. If you have questions specifically about the wine industry, please don't hesitate to ask. So as Gilles said, you know, he mentioned the market insights, the important things that you need to keep in mind when presenting and adapting solutions and the challenges. And now our colleagues from the Catalan cluster Innovi will explain the challenges that we have recorded during the survey.
Well, thank you, Gracie. Well, I'm Victor from Innovi from the Catalan Wine Cluster. And well, you said we would say all the challenges. Maybe we'll just give a sneak peek because we want everyone to join WICA. So what we wanted to highlight is the potential of the survey we did. Having this network of collaboration can make us gather a lot of challenges from different regions. And that's what we did here. We prepared the survey. First, we did around 30 interviews to identify the main challenges directly from the agents that are working on the field. Then we identified more than 200 challenges, and we needed to prioritize them. So we designed this survey with 40 questions in these 4 different sections: viticulture, enology, sales and marketing, and administration. And we translated it into 6 different languages. As you see, we had a huge answer. Of course, it's still open, so we wanted everyone to invite them to go to the WICA webpage and answer it if they want to, or at least some of the wine producers that may be interested in other markets too. We got around 300 wine growers to answer this question and 200 winemakers. So what we did was a wide study of what the challenges were and what the prioritization of the challenges were in the different regions. So if you can go on. Okay, so when we asked about the main challenges, when we focused on grape growing, first we got this result, and we were a little bit sad because we said, okay, can we prioritize here? How can the auxiliary industry design new technologies or new tools for these wine growers if all the challenges are more or less the same, have the same prioritization? Well, then we turned the question upside down. We said, okay, maybe this validates that the challenges we identified on these first interviews were okay. So here we see that climate change is, of course, is one of the main topics, but also we identified reducing pesticides or vine diseases. So we could validate that the main challenges we identified were correct. If we can go on. So what this database also gave us was a little bit deeper insight. So we decided to compare between the different countries present on the project, but also USA. And what we saw that there were slight differences. For example, when we talk about extreme weather or climate change, we see that in the USA, the same way we talk about water scarcity is a challenge that seems to be a little bit more important in that ecosystem. Of course, we also have to bear in mind that we have more answers in Europe than the USA, and that's why it's still open. But we see that there are some slight differences in the same way that when we talk about grape production yield, we said in France, this is one of the challenges that seems to be important for the grape growers. So what does this allow, or what can your organizations do with this information? Of course, if you have companies that work on other sectors and also have to monitor yield with satellite images or with different technologies, we would recommend, or based on the data, we could recommend to enter in France, maybe, rather than going into other countries that, as in Spain, that doesn't seem to be one of the main challenges, the grape production yield. We can go on. Okay, what if we go deeper and we focus on just one challenge and we want to see, okay, how is this challenge present on the different countries? We chose drought, but we have answers for a lot of different challenges. And what we saw is that in the Mediterranean countries, as Spain and Greece and Italy, drought seems to be an important issue. Again, if you have companies inside your BSOs that are working on drought technologies or softwares that can help the wine sector companies, we can give some first access to those countries in order to, again, prioritize a commercial strategy in a group of countries rather than other countries. We can go on. Also, we asked them about climate change. We know there are some challenges that are affecting the wine sector now, but also we wanted to give some intelligence data in order to advance to future challenges. Again, we talked about drought periods when we were talking about grape growing. We can validate that information because it's still important in the USA, the increasing of the drought periods. But again, we see that there are some challenges that seem to be more relevant in some countries rather than others. As we see, if we go to the E challenge, the bringing new diseases to viticulture, we see that in Germany, probably a more humid country where they have some more incidence of some fungal diseases, they are focused on this challenge. Again, we have to think that as they have more water, probably drought or frosting is not one of their main challenges. Again, first-hand information for the organizations inside your BSOs. Okay, now if we move from the field to the winemaking process, we see that there's a little bit of a different graph here than the one we saw at the very beginning of my presentation. We see that here we can really prioritize some of the challenges in front of others. We see that reducing pesticides is one of the main drivers. We already knew that, but we see that climate change effects such as imbalances in acidity alcohol ratio seem to be a driver in the wine sector. But also we here start to see the consumer effect or the consumer appreciation of the wine sector when they are aiming for healthier wines or lighter aromatic body wines. This might be some information that some of your companies may already know, but for sure some of the BSOs that are working on other fields may not have this first-hand data, and this can help design new products or maybe adapt some technologies that are already working on the juice sector or on the beer sector into the wine sector in order to make it more innovative and of course more competitive. We can go on. Again, if we talk about winemaking and about preservatives, we have to talk about sulfites. As you know, sulfites in wine, it's always a sketchy issue. Everyone talks about reducing sulfites, even though wine is not a product that has a huge amount of sulfites. Nevertheless, as it's one of the main concerns of the producers, we wanted to know, okay, if there are some sulfite in our wine, maybe in other sectors, where would they focus firstly? So as we can see, again, the Mediterranean countries seem to have an effect, but especially Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and Portugal. And again, as we're talking of a European network, we see that the United Kingdom, which is a new market, a market that may not have as many wineries as some of the more mature countries, such as France, Spain, or Italy. Well, if we see that that's a concern for them and we have some technologies that may be useful for them, maybe you can have first access to a market that's already in development. Okay, we can go on. And we also wanted to focus on what happens after the producing of the wine. Sometimes when we talk about innovation, we always talk about viticulture or enology, but here we wanted to have a wider view of all the processes that affect winemaking and wine selling. So again, we can see some new trends, delivering of small batches and shipping of online sales, which is something that may not surprise us, but it's interesting to see how this is this is a priority that's confirmed by the raw data in front of, for example, the temperature control of bulk wines, which may seem important in Portugal, but not so much in the rest of the countries. So again, here we have some intelligence markets. So we see that there are new trends. And when we talk about delivery, this is a wide market that affects different products. And so probably we'll see, or we've already identified some solutions that may tackle these challenges. So we think that having this information again can be interesting for some of your companies. And lastly, when we talk about software in order to manage data on the field, on winemaking, we have a lot of softwares, but what we saw is that when we talk about office work, one of the main challenges is bureaucracy management. So why is this important, and how can this affect innovation? What we've seen, for example, is that some software companies are offering very high technical products, but the one who decides which software is used on the winery is the person working on the office. So if we see that bureaucracy management is one of the main challenges for that person who is the one in charge of deciding what software will be implemented, we'll probably be able to adapt or to put some focus on some parts of the development of this software that maybe we wouldn't when we talk with very technical profiles such as engineers or enologists. So again, information that can be useful to design new technology tools for the sector. Okay, thank you, Gracie. I'll go back to you.
Thank you, Victor. So thank you for this introduction into the main challenges of the wine producers, and also an example of what EPAWI and WICA can propose. So now we're going to move into some other concrete examples, and we'd like to share with you some testimonials on the importance of innovation that can be adapted to the wine industry, to cross-sectoral cross-sectoral sectors, and also from the point of an end user, as well as auxiliary industry. So bear with me. I hope that the video will work. And so this first video is from Eva Plazes, who is an enologist at Caves Ville-Naro.
Em dic Xavier Blasco, soc el director
Just my team, can you hear the video?
de WATIC.
Yes, we can.
És una spin-off d'Estel, és una línia de producte que s'ha creat gràcies als projectes d'innovació. La col·laboració amb els clústers ens ha permès tenir accés a clients de diferents sectors, ens ha permès crear una línia de productes específica per a aquests clients i estem més que interessats en una possible xarxa, una possible col·laboració europea de clústers que estic segur que donarà encara molts més fruits.
And so, excuse me, that was actually the video from the auxiliary industry from WICA. And now we will share with you a video from an end user.
Soc Eva Plazas, enòloga de Caves Vilarnau. Caves Vilarnau és un celler de cava de vi escumós de qualitat al sud de Barcelona, 40 quilòmetres de Barcelona, i per nosaltres el repte més important de futur és el canvi climàtic i la sostenibilitat, ja que nosaltres depenem del raïm, d'aquest raïm que neix a les nostres vinyes i que estan patint moltíssim aquest canvi climàtic. Necessitem, doncs, crear una xarxa a nivell europeu perquè tot aquest coneixement el puguem compartir entre tots nosaltres i puguem combatre aquest canvi climàtic i puguem tirar endavant els nostres projectes d'innovació i de futur.
And so there we had two videos to explain, in their opinion, of course, the importance of an alliance on a European level. And so now we're going to enter in the concrete aspects of how to be involved and the joint internationalization strategy of WICA. So we invited you here today also to know your needs and interests, and of course, those of your SMEs, those of your members, in relation to internationalization and entering in the wine industry. So we have a few actions. The first is a supplier survey. So understanding SME needs in terms of international development. The next is a crowd writing narrative exercise, which I will explain in detail in the next slide. But the idea is for the SMEs to present their solution in a creative way. So really answering the needs of the challenges of the wine growers that we were able to find. And through this, there will be funding for third country and international missions and also visibility in the European wine ecosystems. So where? My colleague Gianni will explain after, but of course in the European ecosystems, but also in third countries, and how through collective missions and international events. So the next 5 or so minutes, we will focus on these actions of the joint internationalization strategy. So the first, like I explained, is the crowd writing narrative exercise. So this would be for your members, for your SMEs that have solutions to present to the wine industry. So it's separated into different sections: grape growing, winemaking, administrations, and sales. And I'm just going to click the link here to show you how it works. And so hopefully that you can share this link with your SMEs and with your members so that they might participate in the exercise. And my colleague Celine will also share the link in the chat, and we will of course send it in a follow-up email. So it's an exercise that shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. So once you click the link, there's a little bit the introduction of the 9 different situations. And the task is to explain how the innovative solution can help the protagonist to achieve their goal and to face the described challenge. So some classic information. And I'm just going to show you one example. For example, story number 2 is to reduce the use of chemicals in the vineyard. And here you have the beginning of a story of Bertrand, who is facing some challenges in his vineyard. And so we invite your members, your SMEs, your innovators to finish the story with their solution. So in 500 words, please write how your innovative technology can help Bertrand in very environmentally friendly vineyard management. And so you will see there are challenges facing the whole value chain. And so an innovator should be able to find the place where they're solution could be applied. Yes. And so the deadline for this is December 15th. And so what are the benefits? Why should your member participate in this crowd writing exercise? Well, through the crowd writing exercise, there's the possibility of funding and of course, participation in overseas collective missions and events in 2022 and 2023. This also will help the partner clusters to understand the solutions that are out there in Serbia, in Austria, also in Portugal, France. So throughout Europe, to understand the solutions that are provided so that in our ecosystem, we can help match the needs of the producers to the solutions that are provided. There's also the possibility to be included in an innovation catalog that will be actually all of the stories that have been presented will be organized in a catalog who will be sent and used for grape growers and winemakers through our different international events and actions. So please, if you have questions about the crowd writing, don't hesitate to ask either in the chat or at the end of the presentation during the question time. And the next element that we also encourage you to share with your members is just a quick survey asking the main needs of international development. So countries that the SME or the innovator is interested in, are they lacking contacts, financial support? Do they like traveling in a group with other companies? So this is to help us also organize and allocate our resources into organizing the best international events and most useful, of course, for the companies. And now my colleague Gianni from Vinidea will explain our target zones, the ecosystem studies, and how we plan to go overseas to the third wine producing countries. Gianni.
Yeah, thank you, Gracie. Actually, as it was explained before, the PowerWay project was to test and to experiment some solutions, some activities outside Europe and in Europe in order to take from this experience the best and to know how to offer these services to the SMEs. We know that going in other countries is going to be, sometimes in other regions, even in the same country, is something which is quite difficult, costly. We don't have contact, so it's something that's especially the startups and the SMEs, and especially they are coming from other sector, might need a lot of support for. So we, in the project, we are choosing actually right now 3 target zones. One is North America, where the main part is, of course, United States and California, where most of the wine is produced in the United States, but also other states and Mexico might be of some interest. So we are trying to get some contact also from these other states and regions. South America is another big producer, so together with Chile, Argentina, and a little bit of Uruguay. And South Africa is an emerging country. The quality and the quantity of wine produced down there is increasing, and there is a lot of development going on. What we do in these zones, we first of all we make an ecosystem study. So we are going to characterize and to know better the market size for potential supplier, who are the BSO, the business support organization, who are present there, which kind of activity they do, which kind of support they can provide, and of course, which is the technology readiness of the market. In some countries, there is already a lot of technology. In some others, there is not so much. So innovation, we always have to remember that it's something new in that region. So maybe something already well used in other regions of the world, but still not so developed into that region. So that's also one of the goal of our study, our approach. For example, in USA, we have been contacting already many BSOs. There are many present there that can support how much the regions and the BSOs and the wineries are open to innovation. We characterize the size of the market in terms of vineyard surface, in terms of millions of hectoliter wine produced. The number of producers is very important, the production structure, as Gilles was mentioning before. In some countries, it's very fractionated, in other countries more concentrated. And that's very important for people who want to approach that market. And also, of course, the geographical distribution that is, for example, in USA, we have wineries in all states of the United States, and in Canada and in Mexico, but the great majority of production is really concentrated into one state and in few regions of the same state. So all this information we think can be very important for someone who's approaching the wine market and or he's approaching the United States wine market, to avoid losing time and effort and spending time and money in activities that someone can provide. Grace, if you can go on the other slide, I think is concerning the concrete activities. And I think that's something that may be interesting for everyone. So what we are planning to do, what we are tasting during the project, so funded by European Commission, collective missions and international events. We have planned 2 in-person missions. Something has been already done, but in the future we have it for November, and an event in Chile and the mission in Argentina, a combination of the 2. And we are also working for having another event, in-presence event in USA in 2024. But also we want to organize an online brokerage event. The online environment has been very much developed and can be very useful for our proposal. And that's for June next year. And at the end, also webinars to get more stakeholders involved, to attract somehow the stakeholders talking about a specific topic, of course, related to the main challenges we have seen from Victor's presentation. And through this webinar, to offer the possibility to the SMEs to get known in these countries by a large number of stakeholders. All this is going to be very useful to build up what we call the joint internationalization strategy, which is kind of a Bible for the WICA. So the Alliance wants to have a specific strategy, and the goal of the power of the project is to build it up, of course, with the partner, but also with all the BSOs and SMEs and suppliers who join the WICA at the very beginning. So those who are, let's say, the founders and the first, the front runners of this alliance will have can participate to this process of defining which is the best strategy, best actions, and more efficient and better cost benefit, let's say, activity that WICA can do in the future. Gracie, I don't know if there is something else, otherwise you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Gianni. Thank you for the concrete actions that EPA will test and will put into place concerning the international development of innovators in the wine industry. And so the joint internationalization is to be created, of course, with the SMEs, but also with you, with the BSOs and the clusters. And so now my colleagues from Innovi will explain kind of the overall what WICA needs and what WICA proposes before we hear from you. before we let you ask questions and say your comments. Eloy, Victor.
Yeah. Hello, good morning. Good morning from a sunny and maybe too warm Barcelona for this season. Just one slide as a recap of some of the issues that we tackle in this webinar. We are finishing this first phase. The second phase will be the floor. We will give you the floor to you. So what we can need, and in fact, what the sector, what the grape and wine sector need. Well, we need innovation, we need technology, we need new processes, we need knowledge to tackle the challenge we presented during this webinar. And what we can offer, what WICA is proposing to you. Well, we know a little bit about this market. We've got knowledge, we know the challenges, so we can help you to transfer the technology that probably is in your SMEs or is in your even in your organization. We want to transfer this technology from your sector to the wine and grape sector. We know it's not easy. Jill talked about how the disgregation of this sector, but we think it is possible. So what we want is to help you to transfer. How can we transfer this technology, this knowledge? Well, we as clusters, as BSOs, we are quite usual to develop international and cooperative projects. We are quite good with the transfer events, so we can help you. We are going to put all your energy in this issue, and of course provide all the information that you need. So please contact us. Now we are going to finish this first phase, giving you contact details. Use it. Contact us. We are sure we can work together.
Thank you, Eloy, for this great conclusion and also entryway to hear from our participants. And I will just let our partners from Advid explain how to stay involved and the communication methods.
Hello, everyone. So how can you keep up with WICA activities and news? You can go to our website, www.wicaBSO.com, and you can also find us in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and also YouTube, where we have the videos of our webinars. Please go there, see us. The next year will be a year with a lot of activities. You will know much more about us. And you can also text us through our email, info@wicabsO.com. Whatever you need, any information you need to know, you can email us. So to the next slide, please. So as a bit of a conclusion, WICA is a reality, as we saw before, through the project EPAWI. How is this possible? By joining forces to foster innovation on a global level through international development of suppliers and BSO cooperation linked to innovation and wine growers' needs, as you saw during this webinar. So it is also very important to us to understand if this is an interesting organization, if WICA is interesting for you and your entities, the entities you represent. It's very important to us. Please tell us if this is a way to go to the future, if this is interesting for you. It's important for us to know. Thank you. Back to you, Gracie.
So thank you, Lilia. So if you are interested in this alliance, so how to stay involved, please send us an email expressing your interest. Please share the crowd writing with your members and also the supplier survey. And also keep in touch for workshops on internationalization and the WICA governments, how we would proceed after the 3 years of the project, which are funded by the European Commission. And also for further information, we remain available for one-on-one meetings with other clusters and BSOs, even a workshop on the wine industry for your members. We are willing to brainstorm and to work with you based on your needs. And so now, perfect timing, we have a few minutes of questions or of comments from the audience. So please don't hesitate to turn on your microphone, your camera, raise your hands, and we would love to hear from you.
Well, hello. I have written just a message for all of you. I think it's really a very interesting platform. This idea and project in Europe. So say that from La Rioja, we have created an association for this sector, for the auxiliary wine industry, and just 2 years and a half. So it's a young association, but really very powerful because the importance of this industry in our region, because in Rioja really there is a very important wine sector, so with a very important auxiliary industry, and we are really very interested in collaborating with you, with WICA, of course, because I think the genesis of this association was the internationalization. So we are really interested in collaborating with you in both areas that are very linked one to another, innovation and also internationalization. And really in the last weeks, we were organizing like internationalization project to organize bilateral interviews through online, like brokerage, but among auxiliary industry companies and wineries. So we are organizing for a few companies, but perhaps we can enlarge the initiative or work or speak about it. And I don't know, it's really interesting for us, this platform, this project, and all the collaboration from our part, although we are not integrated in the initial partnership, of course, take us into account. So very interesting. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. And exactly, that actually brings up a good point that, of course, so the 4 partner clusters have created the European project together. But the goal exactly of WICA is to make this partnership larger with partnerships and associations with other clusters and BSOs. So
Okay.
we will be sure to be in touch.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And maybe I will just stop sharing my screen so that we can see each other. If anyone has another question or comment. Okay, well, I don't think so. So on behalf of all of the partners of the EPAWI project and the WICA Alliance, we would like to thank you for your time today. Thank you for your participation. And please don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to share the crowd writing or the supplier survey with your members so that we can create this network to work on innovation and to foster it for the future of the wine industry, and also encouraging collaboration and international development between cross-sectoral actors.
Yeah, and I just want to add, if you have any more questions and want to have more information about the project, feel free to contact either the cluster of your country. I mean, Sheila, you can contact Innovi because perhaps in Spain it's easier.
Yes, yes.
But if not, you can naturally contact Gracie, which is our dear coordinator.
Okay. Thank you, Yields. In any case, just another issue. We belong to because this association, these sectoral associations, belongs to the Business Federation of La Rioja, and I'm the responsible also of the Enterprise of Network organization here in La Rioja. So we can link perhaps some events or brokerage or whatever. So it would be very interesting for us to have you as a interesting contact to to try to move to organize any event or in these things, or out of this project, or I don't know, perhaps we can talk about future things and how to collaborate with you. Okay.
Yes, that would be very nice.
Thank you.
Well, it's 12 on the dot. And so I thank everyone. If there's no further questions, we wish you a great day. And please don't hesitate to keep in touch. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
To everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.